Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to go through and give you an update on where I'm at on day 3 and day 4 this time round. Before I do, I just want to know, are there others out there who are doing a very similar thing? Have you learnt very much from using a CGM? Has it changed how you eat? Has it revolutionised your health? Or did you just find it, meh? You know, it's each of us are different. And I am actually genuinely curious, and I think this is a subject that is actually quite of considerable interest to people. And it would be good to collect other people's thoughts on it, because there are probably other people out there thinking, shall I invest in one? I mean, they're not cheap. I mean, I bought 2 of them from Amazon, I think for £104, and I get, that is a lot of money. Like, I'm not pretending that that's cheap. You can buy them as well singly. I think they're about £57 then. But for me personally, the value in the learning that I get has been immense. There are things that I've discovered about my own personal health and my own personal relationship to carbohydrates, and bread particularly has been invaluable. So I am really truly curious about how you have found things and what you've learned. And I think other people will find that interesting too. So look, if you have tried it, please comment and put in some of your feedback. And if you're thinking about trying it, you know, say. And if you want to know anything about it, I will answer every question that comes up on here. I've done this in PowerPoint. I have taken screenshots from the app on my phone, and then I've stitched them together in one strip. So you can see I started on the 13th, and then I've kind of gone through to the 16th. Today is the 18th. I have the 17th to go tomorrow. I've added in some extra little orange dotted lines, which I hope you can see, but that makes it a bit easier to read the graph, because the way it looks on the screen is that you have the green area. So when you're within the green, you're within healthy range, and then you have the white areas either side. If you drop below range, like you can see here, it goes red. So it goes there, and there. I went below range, which is not good. But I think I didn't put the monitor in the best place. So when I'm sleeping on my left side, sometimes I'm pressing down on it, and I suspect that is probably why I'm dropping out of range in the night time. And then the upper bit above 10 is obviously not good. I think if it goes above the 10, a little bit above the 10, 10.3 I think it might be, then it goes amber. On the app, it's not as easy really to read these things, and you can't, so this is a bit of a quick, what I think of the app. I do love the monitor, it's great, but the app is very dated really. You can't download the data, you can't export it to anything. You literally can't do anything, so I've just been taking screenshots and then manipulating the view of it and then putting in my own notes. So, right, let me talk you through where I'm at. So day 1, I'd had a pretty good day the day before, so I started pretty healthily. In the night I dropped down, but obviously pressing on the monitor, you know, the usual spikes. All these spikes are normal, by the way. It's normal to see that nobody should have a straight line. I think if you have a straight line, you might be a bit like on one of those, you know, monitors, you know, that they do in hospital. You don't want a flat line, do you? Okay, anyway, so up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's pretty normal when you get up in the morning for your glucose to kind of go up a bit, because as soon as you start moving, muscles which are storing glucose send that glucose out to the rescue to give you the energy to kind of get up, go put the kettle on and do the things you've got to do in the morning. Trying now to move into a bit of an 18-6 eating window, because the smaller the window, the less I eat. And I do have still some kilos to lose. And also I care passionately about getting my blood sugar into a healthy range permanently. I think, as I've said in previous videos, and if you haven't watched those, in January I weighed 60 kilos and my blood sugar was in the pre-diabetes range at an HbA1c of 5.8, which isn't good. I mean, 60 kilos is not by any stretch huge. Anyway, I've since then lost 4 kilos. So I am hoping, I have a blood test tomorrow, I am hoping that my blood sugar, my HbA1c, will have moved into a much more healthy range. I'd love it if I could get down into the low 5s. I would love it even more if I can get into the into the 4s, because that's really how it ought to be. And my diet is good. I don't eat lots of junk, lots of sugar. For most days, I eat my breakfast at lunchtime, and so I've called it brunch up here. I use rolled oats, so just everything is very, very simple. Rolled oats that I add 8 different types of nuts, 6 different types of seeds. I make my own kefir, so there's no sugar added to it. I make it from full-fat milk, and I make my own yogurt, also made from full-fat milk. I chop up some prunes, dates, and I throw in some green sultanas, and usually 1 or 2 bits of fresh fruit on top as well. This week it's been blueberries, and I think I had some nectarines as well on a couple of the days. I'm also employing some of the Glucose Godess hacks, so I'm going to be trying these different hacks out throughout this 2 weeks, and trying to eat the same foods each time, just to show you how that affects blood sugar and the spikes, because it's interesting, right? Let's see if those things really work. And I know some of them really do work, but let's see how these things work for me. And what works for me may work very differently for you. One of the things about wearing a glucose monitor is you can learn which foods cause your blood sugar to spike. And I gather some people can eat a banana and have no movement on there at all, and other people will literally go through the roof. Brunch on day 1, which is my daily breakfast. You can see my blood sugar went up to just over 8. That went up pretty quickly, and it takes about half an hour to an hour for the blood sugar to start rising. So yeah, so it started to rise, and it went up very healthily, actually, to be honest. It went up, yeah, to 8. It would be nice if it went to 7, and then it dropped down fairly quickly, which is good. It dropped down to 6 within probably an hour or so, and then continued to drop. That's good. I literally sat and had that breakfast. I didn't do any exercise at all. I deliberately sat for an hour and scrolled through YouTube. Now, supper on day 1. This one was a shocker for me. I know I react badly to carbohydrates, but this one, and it was a bit of an odd day. There's been quite a lot going on in this period, actually, but I was supposed to be having a normal supper with my house guests, but they couldn't get back in time. I ended up waiting, I ended up eating late, and in the end I just threw some chicken thigh, which was without skin, into a tortilla wrap. In fact, the tortilla wraps I had gone a bit dry around the edges, so I actually used 2 wraps but cut off the dry bit, so it was like a wrap and a half. And on that wrap I put some homemade carrot top pesto, which had nuts and herbs and spices and bits and pieces, threw in a couple of cherry tomatoes, 8 wraps, and my glucose spike was outrageous, to be honest. It went up to 10.1 at least, although this only shows it going to 10. It definitely went to at least 10.1, maybe even 10.2, and then it went all the way up, and it stayed up for a very long time. I mean, it was many hours before it came down, and unfortunately I went to bed with it still really high, because I ate late and it stayed up for a long time. I went to bed with it really high, which is not how it should be. Anyway, it obviously came back down to normal. I dropped in the night, again sleeping on my arm, I think, and then, you know, kind of got up, and it was well below 6. I mean, really, to wake up when it's in the 5s is I think healthy. And then I had my breakfasty brunch, which is the daily breakfast, around about, I think, 1 o'clock, and it did as I would expect it to. It went up, and it went up to probably about 8.5. Again, it's higher than I would like, and I think when you have a bad day the day before, that does have a knock-on effect on how your blood sugar reacts the next day. So I guess your body's saying, oi, you know, come on, sort yourself out. Because these things are invisible. That's the scary part of it. You cannot feel what your blood sugar is doing. You just don't feel it. And that's why these monitors are incredible. All right, it went all the way up there, and it did come down quite quickly into the 7s, but it was multiple hours before it really dropped back down into the 5s. I mean, that's, again, a little bit slower than I would have liked. Well, a lot slower, in fact. Now, for supper on day 2, I had a chicken salad, broccoli, and a small piece of cake. And you can see that there was barely any spike there. So this is where the Glucose Goddess hacks, if you like, come into place. I just tended to eat the salad first, and then then the chicken. And there is a sugar spike. It kind of did go into the sort of sixes, but it didn't go very high. And even though I had this piece of homemade cake, which was made with oats and protein powder and I think there was some cream cheese and some Greek yogurt. My niece made it, so she's given me the recipe, and I'll talk about another cake that we've made, and then I'm going to take her lovely cake and I'm going to healthify it next week. She'll hate me. But I'm going to make it delicious. The cake was absolutely delicious, I have to say. I only had a little piece, just a tiny little piece, but yeah, no massive spike. And there we go, went to bed, and it was dropping, and then it fell off a cliff again. Again, I think I was sleeping on the monitor. And yeah, in the night it kind of goes up and down, and then I think I got up. In fact, where it goes up there, that's probably where I got out of bed, had a couple of cups of coffee, moved around a bit, and did the normal things on day 3. My brunch, I ate it, so I was a bit more active this particular morning. It was Saturday morning. I volunteer on a local market, on a stall, a community stall, and I always go and I do the thing and I don't eat, but I nip back to use the loo, and I had a little bit of my breakfast because I was a bit peckish, so I had probably about a quarter of it, and then I dashed back out the door, and I was standing around sort of doing the usual thing, serving customers, and then I had to bring some of the stuff from the stall back to mine, all the bits and pieces, using a trolley, a pull-along trolley. So I was quite active after the first bit, and then I ate the second part of my breakfast, and I was pretty active. I was pottering about the house doing stuff, and you can see my blood sugar compared to here and here, eating the same breakfast, the totally different spike. I mean, it is quite remarkable, I think. Now, I was pretty active throughout the day and doing bits and pieces, and then I sat down and watched more YouTube, because somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to get people's watch hours up, and I am willing to be that person. Okay, for supper on day 3, a lot going on. I don't normally eat like this. I do normally eat more substantially, but I ended up eating a slice of sourdough toast, homemade sourdough toast, with some Flora Proactive, cholesterol reducing spread. I don't like eating processed foods, but I am trying to get my cholesterol down. And I put some homemade peanut butter on there as well. And you can see just one slice of toast, and you can see what it did to my blood sugar. It went up. Admittedly, it was only into the 7s, but it was just one slice of toast. And it had peanut butter on it, so it had a protein thing on there. And then the blood sugar dropped down to around 4 and stayed fairly steady, 4s, 5s. And you can see here is where I got up on day 4. Had a few cups of coffee. I have my coffee, it's filtered coffee made with water with a little bit of milk added, and some sweeteners, or a sweetener. Anyway, I potted about, did the bits and pieces. Oh, and I had a teaspoon of vinegar in water at 10 a.m. Glucose Goddess hack is to have some vinegar in water before you eat. I can't remember if it's supposed to be in the morning or whether it's before your meal. I took it at 10 a.m. I actually went to lunch in a pub with a friend. I just had a Diet Coke, and I had a pub lunch of roasted sea bass, broccoli, and pesto potato mash. It was very late. I hadn't eaten breakfast, and it was probably sort of, I think it was nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I ate that. So you can see that stretches all the way out to there when I ate. I got home and I had a slice of a homemade protein cake. It was a carrot cake, and you can see my sort of blood sugar kind of went up and down. So it stayed sort of a little bit more elevated for longer. But I mean, you can see it in comparison from day 1 to day 4, just doing things a little bit differently, how much that's affecting my blood sugar. Now, I can't consistently eat so little. I don't normally eat so little. I'm not counting the calories, but calorifically, this is too low. Not enough protein, not enough fibre, not enough any of the important macros, and I do not recommend that people eat like I've been eating in this 4 days. My diet does improve. I have day 5 to come, and then today will be day 6. Thank you so much for checking in. I really appreciate it. And for all of you that are new, I am grateful for those of you who subscribed, those of you who are watching. Thank you so much.